I feel really like proud of myself because I know it's like nothing to you, but I was able to get the sound of the fan out.
I love this. It's nothing to me.
Because I mean,
no, it's impressive. It's like, don't make me seem like I'm some dick. I know it's so fun.
I know you'll just shit on me for it.
Like, no, it's great. Like, that's great that you got it out.
No, I was really proud of
viewers
myself.
at home, I'm a nice person. I would be proud of you for doing that. I am.
Welcome to Seventh Helix. I'm here with a notoriously bad person, Dan Maddalone.
It's true.
And wonderful delight, Katie Cusack.
Thank you. Thanks.
Oh my God.
If I ever had the angels and the devil on the side, I want them to be you two.
Oh, damn.
Oh my God.
Good luck.
This podcast off to a truly
set me up
historically bad start.
And yeah, so, but that's because I know you're going to give me a ton of shit for fucking up the first one.
That's okay.
No, you should give me shit because it's funny.
It
was a great podcast. It was a great podcast. And
he didn't record my mic the first time. Then he didn't record my mic the second time. And then his hard drive died. And so there's not even video evidence. I was excited for this. It was a sick podcast.
The truth is, I'm very passive aggressive and I hate you.
So you're like, I'm just gonna fucking that's fine.
What do you think? How do you think I'm gonna fuck with it this time?
You might make my voice sound really high, or like add
Oh my
in,
God,
that's
that
a
would be
good. Thanks for
amazing.
the idea.
add in like weird little voice cracks and moments to like try and demasculate me, but you know.
Yeah, but everybody's gonna miss out on that podcast. And the Goof Troop, I think, was the culmination.
You could have called us the Goof Troop that night. That was
Yeah.
a goofy night.
So you said that you don't want to grow up, but you guys both do very grown up things.
Yeah.
No, ask my parents if we're doing grown up. No, just kidding. It's
Well,
like, who does grown up
who
stuff?
gets to define what grown up is? I don't think it's the old people.
It's true.
You know?
Nice.
What?
Yeah, that's a very nice way to.
I love that.
Try and bring that back.
Some like older person is gonna be listening to this and be like, "That's it." Just fucking turn it off.
That's a thing.
Just turn it off.
You know what?
I'm done on Facebook now.
You buy a slow
Fucking
cooker, you pay your
millennials.
taxes. Okay,
Talking
that's going to
shit.
the max.
Well, that's not
It's
what
like
I
all
mean.
the people who email us at the collaborative for like our creatives under 40, and they're like, people over 40 matter, and I'm like, yeah, bitch, we talk about you all the time.
That's literally
As
is
like
not
a
for
society.
you. By name,
like,
this
yeah,
is not about you.
And also, you should be important enough that by 40 that somebody talks about you. You know, it's
Well,
like
I mean, people get started late. I get some of it.
Yeah.
But
That's fair. But
if you're over
not
40,
about
you disgust me.
Well,
No, I'm just kidding.
well,
I'm just kidding.
honestly, if you haven't gotten your name out over 40 yet, and you're angry about the fact that young people are getting attention, you're not going to make it.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like,
the real
if
point.
that's your point,
Yeah,
like
you're
That's
just,
the only point. Yeah.
That's not fun to watch. It's really not fun to watch someone who's pissed off that they got a late start. Like,
Yeah.
not at all my thing anyway.
Yeah. I love it. I love watching older, mean people yell at millennials. And what are they called? Zoomers? That's how you know I'm doing.
Yeah, I love talking to the Zoomers. I talked to
Legends.
Jacob Luke. I think that's his name.
You're blowing it.
I only know his name is Jake. He was in Good Fiction. He was.
Oh, okay.
Word.
He's 20 years old.
Ooh.
Woo.
It's really
Baby.
interesting to talk. It was funny because
Youthful.
we were on
Saying
this
that
side of
like
the
I-
table.
Please, Katie. Okay, you're basically a Zoomer.
I'm like, ew.
Wait,
No,
how
I
old
mean,
are
you do have your
I'm
you have
gonna
a blanket
be-
on your lap like you're
I do,
9,000
like an
fucking years
old
old.
person.
Yeah.
I'm 25.
I like the fact that one of the nice things about millennials and younger, I don't know if it's true about Gen Yers, but you can now ask women how old they are, and it's like okay. It's not like I have to be like.
That's I think
You know
another
what I mean?
element of we were talking about Friends earlier. I think that's and it like that existed in that world. I don't think that's a real thing. I mean, I get people like who are older don't want to be asked how old they are, but I've never felt that was an issue.
That's
Like I
a
feel
good
like it's
thing.
another made up fucking construct of like
That's a good
this
thing.
is how like people are supposed to be annoyed at things for like
Yeah.
I could talk about this fucking show like forever about
About Friends. About
yeah,
hating
like
on
it's
Friends?
so annoying.
I was talking to. I want to
Like
do.
their relationships are ridiculous.
I want to do a
honestly.
podcast
Show
with
is
Kiki,
insane.
but I want to have a topic, and I think I'm going to do trash television.
Oh, me and Kiki almost
You did that.
Yeah.
You basically, oh damn!
me
I
and
can't do
Kiki
that now.
almost did like a trash television podcast, but we just kept getting we like because the concept was like we're just watching the show and then like getting a little bit loaded while we do it, and then it just became like the show was like 45 minutes long, and then
Were
we
y-
kept having to pause it to have these like side
Were
conversations.
you like Mystery Science Theatering it though, where like people could view
that
the show?
I think that
and
was
then...
the plan, but then I get so irritated like with dialogue,
Yeah.
and Kiki loves it, like she eats it up, and I'm like I hate love it, like where I'm just like fuck you, like I can't, and Kiki's like yes, like please, like give me more, and then we just like had to. There was a lot of like us dealing with that.
I
with each
texted
other.
her a month or two ago.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Do you watch Riverdale?" And she
Oh my
just
God,
laughed.
dude.
I
Yeah.
want, and I now want to watch Riverdale, even
No.
though it looks terrible.
It's awful.
I want to watch it because it looks like terrible with purpose. It looks like it's like trying to be trash.
I watched an
what is
episode with my
Riverdale?
mom.
It's the TV show based on the
Oh my
Archie
God, dude.
comics.
Oh.
But like they made all the, it's like they involve murder somehow,
Yeah, it's dumb.
and the kid from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody's in it.
Based off of Archie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a
But
No,
weird
Archie
dude,
is like
it's
the
insane. It's
From what I
insane.
understand, Archie
It's
is like
just
the
the
non-character.
characters. Yeah, like he doesn't even fucking matter.
But why not just make a show that isn't connected to a comic strip that no one really pays attention to now?
Dan,
I don't know because they got the IP
it's a
and they want to use it.
CW. It's a CW, and that's all you need to know.
The CW paid a total of $700 for the rights to Archie, and then
The best. I watched this like video essay on it, and there was one thing in it that made me
What?
want to. I'll send it to you.
Yo, the phrase video essay makes me enraged.
Why? You don't? Not a fan?
I just think
it
that
makes
that,
me stressed out. It feels like work
that
I
as
have
a,
to do.
as a concept, just call it like a short film or a documentary, and like
Video
stop
essay.
being an asshole.
The thing that got me was Cheryl. I think is her name. She the redhead.
I don't know.
You don't watch it?
I don't. I watched the first
You
episode.
clearly do.
and
No, I
then
don't. I want to now because
Oh,
this
you know
character-
Cheryl,
Well,
Guinevere's
they're-
daughter? She's a tax attorney.
You know how like
She drives a Buick Regal, a 93, I believe.
Well, there are so many like memes.
Oh,
out there.
about
the
show.
I feel like you kind of just like get to know.
Well,
what's
there's a
She's like-
character who's just this hot redhead who apparently everything about her character arc is taken care of in like the first season, and then she's just a hot redhead. I mean, I could be wrong here, so whatever. But the thing that got me was this girl doing the video
Yo.
documentary, I guess. But
I'm sorry, that's a ridiculous concept. Just call it a documentary.
but she was talking
Video
about this,
essay? Are you
this-
kidding me?
this scene where they're out to
No.
like at a diner. And she comes in and she gets the hot girl entrance, you know, like slow motion. Usually, and the girl's like, typically when this happens, it's supposed to represent how somebody sees her.
Mm.
But nobody's
Nobody
looking at
sees her
her
that
this
way.
way. So
It's just the
it's
show.
basically just how
Yo, that's pretty
that's her.
great.
Her character's like, I want a hot girl entrance, and so she gets one.
Mm.
Even though everyone at the table doesn't give a fuck about her.
Nobody. That's amazing.
Nobody looks at her.
That's fantastic.
Makes me want to watch it.
That's hilarious.
I kind of like that idea.
It sounds like not another teen movie, like that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, it
But it's
sounds
a serious
self-aware.
show.
It's like we are making a
But-
show that is
But it's also
garbage.
a video essay that's telling you that. So I don't think
Yeah,
that
you're
the
gonna have to take
writers
this
of the
whole thing
show
with
were
a
like,
grain of
let's
salt.
make it all ironic.
Let's
Like
make
I
it
doubt
subversive
that
and
that's what was
interesting.
happening.
Fair.
Make this humor amazing.
Oh my
Oh
god.
God.
I love it.
Okay, I want to go back to you guys saying you're not grown up
Oh, okay.
because I think most people are not entrepreneurs.
Neither are we.
You
Yeah.
kind of are.
You are.
You kind of both
I'm
are.
not. I get a paycheck.
Like entrepreneurs.
You get a paycheck, but you're getting a paycheck in a very entrepreneurial field. A lot of what you're doing is self-motivated.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll give you that.
So, I mean, that's pretty grown up. You're taking a big risk.
Yeah. I I'm sorry, I just like
Take it, Q's,
like,
take it.
yeah, it's just like this moment of silence.
Yeah, a
Um,
moment of silence for our supposed careers,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, career. I don't like the word career anymore. I no longer like
because
that
it makes
word.
it feel so permanent,
Yeah.
and it's like I guess
Mhm.
you wanna see get as much as you can out of something, but it's also just sort of like I don't know. I've always had a really big issue of like planning
Mm.
out in the future. I remember in high school, my dad it was like my senior year of high school, and I was just like, I haven't applied to college. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like gonna go party for a while, and my dad was like, no, like you should sit down. And I was trying to go out with my friends. one night, and he's like, "You can't leave the house until you write down a 5-year plan." And I was like, "That's insane."
That
And
is-
then I
this
just
is
left.
not the time for this.
I was like, "No, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry."
And is
I'm
it
like, I
a-
couldn't. If I had sat there all night, I don't think I would ever be able
Also,
to
like
because
5
I've
years
never.
is a little much. I've said to some people, think of what you want your life to be like in a year,
Even that.
and then
is-
well, the thing is though, like
You
I
gotta
feel,
start somewhere. Though.
I feel like
like a month.
Yeah,
you
I
want to be
feel
doing it
like-
a month.
I feel like, but people don't add on to that though. Don't think of it as like you have
You
to
have
get
to
there.
do
It's
it.
more like, am I moving in that direction?
Mm,
Because if I am, cool. I'm happy about that. You know,
Yeah.
like feel like it's more relative. If I'm moving in the direction I want to go, it's good to feel it. It's good to be like, I said I was going to do that, and I'm definitely closer to that,
mm.
and it feels good. Versus being like, I'm going to have a career where I'm going to be this at this age, and I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
That's so claustrophobic.
For
It
sure.
just sounds terrible to me. It's why I don't like the word career.
Yeah, I mean, I feel lucky to have been put in a position where like I'm not working for like having going to school for journalism. I'm not working for like a daily news
Mm.
situation where they're like, go write this story about some store that just opened, and then I have to turn it in a few hours later, and it's like basically nothing. Like I have,
Well, that news media is on its last dying breath. And like,
yeah,
you know,
which is also like there are aspects of it that matter. Which like I wish I could be the person who's like gonna sit in the like fucking state building for hours, which they tried to make me do at the alt. Like David really tried to get me to like. He's like, you should go, like, just hang out in there and like see if you can talk to some like senators and stuff. And I was like, I remember I like lost my scarf one day, and I was like, I have to get out of here. Like,
that's just why ask somebody to do something that they're not interested.
it's like my most.
This is why people rag on millennials, dude. That's literally the most absurd thing.
No, but also I was
You're
like,
lost my scarf and I couldn't talk to a single senator. I talked to you about my scarf.
no, but also I was just like, this is not. I don't
How
know.
am I going to talk to a
I
senator
felt
without
so
my
out of
scarf?
my element because I didn't
Especially
know.
without my scarf. It was my lucky scarf.
It
I had a
was.
cold
No,
neck.
it actually was.
Yo,
dude.
you write your own jokes. I love it. It's amazing.
No, but I also like just was so out of my element where I didn't have any grasp on like
but-
New York politics, and I was like, how I'm walking in blind, and I'm like,
I feel like I'm going to say something nice about you, and I don't want you
Oh.
to feel bad about it because
Panic,
like,
run away.
sweating.
But, like, no,
Push
but,
him
like,
away, Katie. Push him away.
When you do write something, I
Yeah.
can tell that you're into it
Oh, yeah.
virtually every
Yeah.
time. You know, like,
yeah,
and it makes it. So I want to. I don't read just the
Cool.
title and the first paragraph, and I'm like, I don't
I get
care about
this,
this.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm really like, oh, this person actually
Good.
genuinely cares about what. I should say that you work for Collab. 'cause
Yeah.
I didn't say that. And
yeah,
Dan is an everyman, but
Yeah.
you got Chateau and you're in coupons.
Definitely. I do both those things.
definitely.
Well,
Neither of those things make me money,
But
but
you
yeah.
do so many things
Sure.
that it's
Yeah.
very hard to put a label on you.
I do
You're
a bunch of-
everywhere.
I do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, you're everywhere.
yeah,
You're-
Everywhere and nowhere at the exact same time. I
You
don't
do-
really do that much shit though. That's the funny part.
It seems like you do.
Yeah, it's a lie.
Well, it's
you know what I
because
did today?
It's because you do a lot
I
of
ate
different.
pierogies and I watched Midsummer. That's what I
Right.
did
It's a
all
great
day
movie.
today.
It's a great
Mhm.
movie.
Crazy movie. That's what I did today.
It's a good movie.
I sent a couple emails too. I played some drums.
Yeah,
but that's it.
But that's the thing, though.
It's
When
Monday,
you but when
baby.
you also have time periods, I know, where you're like doing
Busy,
a bunch
yeah.
of different things, and
sure.
it's hard to. It's easy to say this person does this.
Mm.
With you, it's like, well, he's in a band. He has a basement where he has these shows that I keep missing, and he keeps giving me shit.
Fucking
for.
idiot. I finally booked one you'll
I'm-
have to go
I'm
to.
going in March. I put it in my calendar the second you told me.
Damn right.
Because the problem is you don't have Facebook events, and I forget that they exist.
I do. To be fair, I do have Facebook event. You know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do it.
No,
I'm
no,
not gonna do
I
it.
don't get. I don't know about them then. I need to get on that. That's on me then.
It's true.
I'm not on your Facebook thing.
happens.
Yeah, no,
But that's
definitely.
that's like once it's in my Facebook events, then all I do is open my phone and it's like, what am
Oh.
I doing this weekend or what am I doing this week?
Yeah. Well, we also haven't had one in like a super long time. I did a lot of them for a while and then took like a pretty firm break because I
Mm.
was like, oh boy, I got to stop doing this. I'm going like kind of crazy. So took a little bit of a break. So I haven't done one in a while. But then we have like a couple scheduled. So
How big is this space? Because I haven't been there.
the best shows have between 40 to 55 people in the basement.
I wasn't even
You
thinking
could
of that.
get-
I was curious about the sound.
Oh, sorry. Wait. So
No,
what was your question?
My question is how
specifically?
big is the space? Because you are doing sound. I would imagine is difficult to do in a basement. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
It is. It largely is. It's hard to do sometimes, but it's a big enough space that it's good.
Oh, cool.
It's like I have enough stuff now, and like have done it long enough. Like I don't know. It's a good sized room. There's a lot of stuff in it. And when you get a good amount of people in there, it's not very tough to make things not feedback. It's like weirdly good space. So I mean, it's like a basement's like it's all relative, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are worse rooms in Albany than my basement to see shows in.
Sure.
Like a ton of them.
Sure.
Like that would be a much worse environment for sound than my basement because of the people, the gear, the ceiling's just tall enough, and there's like the rafters, there's wood. Like you want porous things, like wouldn't sound super terrible in this room because there's something to absorb it, you know. And so it kind of depends, you know.
Yeah. To give you some credit, and I know you are you're like allergic to praise, but like
I'm such a dick. I also secretly love it, obviously.
No, I know that's why the allergy, because you're afraid of taking it to, you know what I mean?
Panic and run out of here. Yeah.
But and you clearly love music, and
Definitely.
you decided it seems to me from the outsider that you decided at whatever age, I'm just gonna do this. And I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, and I'm just going to fucking do it. But that's a lot of people can say that. But you actually like did it, learned from it, did more, learned from it, did more. That's like pretty admirable. And I think the area's better off.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I think that happened. I'll take that.
Okay, cool.
I made a decision at a certain point, and then I definitely have made an effort to learn as much as I can as I go along the way.
Yeah.
Definitely true.
Yeah. So,
I'm
and that's
on board with it.
When we talked about doing a podcast, even the first time, the reason I wanted you two together was because I just think the both of you open doors for a lot of people in that area.
Try to.
In different ways, in completely different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you're both everywhere. You're both everywhere, and you're always together.
It's true. I need a counterpart to also talk shit about whatever that we got to talk shit about.
It's true. We love to talk shit.
It's like every time I feel like I've discovered something, you're already there.
I've been here since
and
Tuesday.
We've been there forever.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been here forever. I'm fucking trying to leave, man. I'm trying to get out of here for a long time.
No, it's cool though. It's cool. You guys are very involved.
Sure. Yeah.
I do want to ask, before we get too crazy, I want to ask a serious question.
Yes.
What do both of you want for the area? Both, you could say just for music or for the arts in general. But like, I feel like the area is like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I feel like the area is 1,000 times better than it was, let's say, before you started doing what you were doing. And I'm not going to give you credit for all of it, but I'm just saying, like, when I don't remember in college, I was annoyed by the fact that it felt like there was nobody playing music who wasn't just a cover band in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s.
That's all possible. Okay, I'll do the thing that I want to do. So this has always been happening. Albany, Troy, the capital region has always felt like it's been on the cusp to people who are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and are excited about doing this and are in it just long enough to know something and still feel like they have like a path ahead where they're like, I'm 3 years in, you know, like I'm 24 and I'm still excited. Like you feel like you can make all these serious changes and you're like, we're so close to getting to like
Put
X,
the mic
Y,
closer
Z.
to your mouth because you're getting
To
really,
X, Y,
you can move it.
Z.
You can move it.
Right now.
No,
I've never seen these before. And so people think that like, and they're not wrong. That's like a lifeblood of this area. Like youthful energy and exuberance is something that's like extremely helpful to a place like the capital region, which is like almost too big for its own good and and it's definitely too small for its own good. And so that's always nice. But the idea that it's like that it is better, but it's because we're more acclimated to like how things are as we see them. I can't say that when I first showed up that things weren't going well. And it doesn't mean like the bars are a little less fucked up than they were in like the mid 2000s when it was just like a horrible place for like 18-year-olds to get wasted. Like I'm not saying there aren't things that are better about it. I should not have drank beer. Why did you give me beer, dude?
Because I wanted you to burp into the microphone.
You bastard. You better edit these out. And so, you know, there's lots.
Edit in worse ones.
Yeah, edit just horrible burps. That would be amazing.
Just like over his
Just-
talking,
just
like
dis-
this
You know,
entire.
what's funny is like
awful.
these podcasts are so long. I know that people are not watching the whole thing, but sometimes I'm doing it. I'm like, I'm gonna put something ridiculous in here.
Just like a cat meow, like.
Sometimes I do it.
But so things have gotten better, and I would say that the area that we're in is constantly in a state of doing quite well, and also doesn't feel like it's living up to its potential. I feel like it's been like that for
Forever.
years and years and years, and I think that one of the ways that we could make it better, and I don't think that it's actually going to happen, but I think that one thing that we could potentially change is I think that people should be more critical of the art that is around here. And I think that people should be more open to criticism about their art, because one of the things that makes like someplace so large like New York or even a place like Philly so good is that like you can form your own little circles. And in this area, it seems as like everyone's kind of together. Like, how do you not like, how can I really be critical if I'm going to hurt someone's feelings?
Right.
And the goal isn't to hurt someone's feelings, but it's like everyone should be uplifting themselves and everyone should be working as hard as they can if they're interested. Again, and this is not to put down people. If you're making art for fun in your room, like, or if you're out playing, like, that's all great. This isn't like there's some higher,
Yeah, it's not like
realm.
stop making.
Yeah, it's not about that.
music.
No, I get it.
It just is like people should be able to be critical, and I think that this whole area is constantly patting itself on the back so hard, and also it will continue to do so. I don't think that this is going to change.
Yeah.
I don't
maybe
think
it
it won't.
Maybe you'll be the guy to change it.
There's no way that'll happen. Maybe, but I just mean like that's like the main problem with this area. I think is that like it's just too fucking small where things can really develop, and it's like all the people that actually make it out of here fucking leave. So it's like I think that this place is doing also fine. It sounds like an anti-capital region.
That's a really good point. It's like the farm system in baseball. It's like if we
Keep
can.
going. I don't know what that is, but I believe you. Keep going.
Well, like the Albany County Yankees or whatever. Remember we used to have the AC Yankees, and Bernie Williams played for them, and Derek Jeter played for them.
I don't, but I also still believe you.
And so it's just like, well, that's what we're good for. We're
Yeah.
really good. We're really good at churning out some people to leave.
And I also think that I'm not trying to stop younger people from pushing and trying to make this place the best way that it is, because that's super important. But I'm saying that like it's something worth considering, I guess, as I have been just like recently figured this out too. I'm 30, and I like recently was like, oh shit, I can't do any of these things that I thought were okay. That's a stupid idea. Got it. Okay, now I know where I live. Understood. But it's something like worth saying that like we are better off because Katie and I are working, but we're better off because all people are working. Everyone working towards this goal. It's a net positive. And I would say that if you really want to help in any way, shape, or form, forming baseless, meaningless organizations about the creative economy or whatever fucking bullshit you think is helping, like you're watering down the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like you're a waste of everyone's fucking time. Like non-creative people who are, and again, not saying novice people who are trying their hardest. I'm
There's
saying
a
non-creatives who are
difference.
trying to weasel their way in to make themselves seem more interesting.
Irrelevant.
You're a fucking, or forcing your relevance for yourself. That's not helping.
No, I'm with
You're
you.
in the fucking way. Get the fuck out of the way.
I'm with you. It's the difference. It's actually, I pointed this out because I like to go to places where these are, like I'm friends with Dark Honey, friends with the Chromoscope guys, and I'll help out where I can. And I feel part of the group, but I sometimes want to remind them, like, I've got no risk here. You know, like I've invested nothing into this. This is all you guys. You know what I mean? There's a difference between, I'm a spectator here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a spectator and I'm a tourist. You know, and
Well, for sure. Well, no, but you're a valuable part of it. My
Yeah.
point is,
well, that's because I'm coming at it from a kind, critical point of view.
Yeah.
And I have an actual opinion, and they don't have to listen to me, but I'll say like what I think as
Which
from
is
my
so
point of
valuable.
view,
Which is valuable.
rather than the guy who's got his career
yeah.
and he's playing guitar at a place, and it's like your heart's not in this. You haven't put a lot into this.
Or it's
you know
like,
what I mean?
Yeah, or it's like just the people that are not really in it for any reason other than to make themselves look good or make themselves look cool.
Yeah.
Or make themselves seem interesting. Again, this isn't about the people who aren't directly creative, don't have a role, or
Yeah.
shouldn't be showing up, or shouldn't be showing their support, or aren't valued, or aren't smart enough to do this. Again, it's not about that. It's just about people who are just thinking, like, this area has like such a great blend of incredible musicians, people, artists, people working, all this stuff. And there's also just this blend of people that are just along for the ride, that think that they're a part of this whole thing and really are just dragging the entire thing down.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
they're
like,
not they're not like members of the community that like we're all familiar with, who are like down on the ground and they're going to the shows and they're doing all these things and they want to know how to support their friends. This is like higher, like powers that be kind of people who like have nothing to do with anything, have never probably gone to a show anywhere, but are familiar with a name and think it'll like make them money in a way.
they're trying to
And they don't
diversify their
they
platform.
want to say that they're like friendly to creative people or like artists, but they're not willing to actually like put anything forward to help these artists survive on a regular basis. But they want to say that like this like community of artists in the region is successful, so like, you know, people should come invest here. Like that's their goal.
Yeah.
They don't actually care about the artists who are here. They just like want other people to come in and give the entire region money. And so it's like, and like
Which-
give their business money, which is like fine, you
I
know,
get
like
it.
every to each their, like every man for themselves kind of thing. Like if that's how you do your shit, whatever, cool. Like you're surviving.
Yeah, I
Not
like
gonna
that
judge you.
collab post recently on Twitter about how can we get venues, like what can venues
Well, yeah,
do
like
better
that
for
was we like did this whole survey of like local musicians, like if you could say something, like we basically had like open-ended questions at the end of this long survey that was
kind of
mostly
genius
about
because
like
no one will get the get blacklisted
Right.
because they had an opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like you can give us your name if you want to be named because like we're obviously going to be using the survey for something, but the rest of the survey was for like we want to see like what you guys are actually making if you're gigging this much, because everybody's always saying like, "Oh, I played this many shows, whatever." But like how much are you actually making off of it? Like how much
Yeah.
are you being paid by these people who like say that they support you? And then at the end it was like, if you could say anything to venues or promoters in the area, what would you say? And people fucking went off. Like it was
I'm curious what kind of things they said. Are you
I
gonna
mean, it
publish
was like, I mean, no, well, it's out there. That's like the article that's there. It's like the like venues,
Yeah, I
venue
saw that.
owners and artists. It's like
I didn't read the results then.
yeah, it's like basically a lot of the artists just feel like underpaid and like they can't manage to be doing all this promotion aspect on their own, and like people just need so much help to make art a real sustainable career. And you know, then looking at the business aspect of it, you're like, okay, I understand where the venue owners are coming from, where they're like, we're just trying to like keep our business afloat because it's really hard to maintain. So then it's like, how are we supposed to like also be these people's promoters? Like we just like it has to be 50-50, and it's like, yeah, that's fair. So it's like a lot of like
50-50
basically
would be fair if it happened.
right. And it's so it was
Savoy's
basically
really
like
good at that.
putting out a lot of the piece was like just putting it out there, like this is what these people are saying that they need and this is what these people are saying that they need. So like, can you look at this and be like, okay, maybe I can do something, or like, hey, can you reach out to some people and be like, can you do a little bit more for us? Like just in this aspect, you don't have to do 100% of the work. Like I think everybody feels like they have so much on them all the time that it's like, if you put one more thing on me, I'll murder you. Like that kind of feeling is like so real for everybody. So it's just really intense.
I
Sure.
hear all that. That's spot on. I think I come at it from a different angle because I'm really not in it. You
Yeah.
know, I'm more an audience member than I am anything else. And the thing that frustrates me the most is, I guess, this attitude about what it means to be doing art for a living.
For sure.
You know, and it almost prevents you from contributing where you could be the most valuable. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, not saying don't go to your Pearl Jam concert at Madison Square
Sure.
Garden. Like that's fine. I get it. However, you're missing out on this whole world because you've decided what it means to be an artist for a living as something that is not attainable for
Mhm.
almost anyone.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like it would be like if when you went to get a plumber, you were like, well, I
Right.
only want the plumbers that are nationally known.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's stupid. That's a
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
That's a stupid way to look at it. And also, you're missing out on this local talent. You know, like it
Mhm.
just bugs me. And
Well, it's an antiquated model that I think will change with time as things become more localized. And you know, the music industry just doesn't. I mean, I'm saying like literally the most obvious statement of all time, which is that the music industry doesn't work the way that it used to work.
right,
As it used to be a gatekeeping industry where they would allow things out and you feverishly give money to get something, because
Access.
you didn't have any access to anything, and now it's only about access. And so in ways it's gotten better, and in ways there are people that are missing out. In ways it's easier for people than ever to be connected to stuff, and it's it's I mean, you see success stories with people who wouldn't have been able to do this without a major deal, but like a deal.
Mm.
Like people who are generating revenue, creating
Yeah.
things, and it's cool. So just like everything, also like with a grain of salt, you have to take it in that like Jamie Miller Lite. This is like so good. Imagine I'm like giving like I'm on a jury for like a murder, and I'm like the defendant. Burp.
I should be marking the time so I can easily find these later.
It's fine. It's fine. What was I
giant burps
even
in.
saying? No, but just so it's always been hard, and it's been accessible for some people, and some people have just worked it out. It's like it's all the same. The music scene has always been dying. Like
And there's
everything
not,
has
like, a
always been garbage.
plan.
There's no plan.
There's
no
nothing
way of
that
figuring this
everybody
out.
can follow. So like they did this, so I can do this. No, you
Yeah.
can't.
I remember I was at
Yeah.
Old English one night with a bunch of them. I don't remember who was there, and I was drunk, so I was being a little more free with my words.
Sure.
And I was like, "You guys got a hold on you, and everybody knows it. And that's that you have to do what you're doing. And you know what? You artists, you can't do anything else. That you have to do this. It's not like me, and everybody knows it.
I feel
So
like
they
you
can
went
offer
into
you-
your drunk voice
like-
right there.
Yeah,
like
it's
that-
great.
like, you know what
I
I
was
mean?
did,
in
like, a
that
full
moment
impression.
with
I was
you.
like,
That's
Whew.
and
I was in on it.
everybody knows it, and they can give you as little as possible because you're gonna do it anyway.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and in a way, you're right. It's always been that way. It's always been that way in a way. It doesn't mean that it can't be better.
Well, it's
And
the
I'm not
idea-
suggesting we
Change.
It's
But
the idea
yeah.
of it's not work if you're having fun. So like I don't
Yeah.
really need to pay you if you're like doing this because you're passionate about it. It's like
Yeah.
then what the fuck? What are we all
it's
doing?
entertainment. Of course, you're not seeing the not fun part. That's the point.
Like they carried all their shit in here for you and like got it already. They have to bring it home. They have to drive back to wherever they're from. Like, no, that's not how this works.
yeah.
But it's just like it's bitterness. People don't want. It's this like very inner issue, I think, like human wise, where it's like, well, I have to fucking work all day, and I've been at this bar for like 16 hours, and you're just gonna come in here and play some songs that you wrote, so like you can get attention and like play songs that you like love to play, and like all of your friends are here, and you're having a great time, and we're giving you a few free beers from our bar. So why do I need to pay you any money? And it's like, god damn, you're so miserable.
that is a
Yeah.
Like-
terrible attitude.
But
That is
like,
a
doesn't it?
terrible
A lot of people
But
though.
that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Like
I
as
don't
an
doubt it.
overarching thing. But like that's why it's important to like go talk to those people and be like, hey, like what's up with this? Like, how can we make it better? So it's like we need a few like good promoters and owners and to speak up and be like, no, like I
Yeah, 'cause
think
there's-
I do
there's a
it
lot of
pretty
good
well.
ones.
There are
Hmm.
really good ones, and
Yeah,
like
a
I
bunch of 'em,
was
yeah.
lucky to like talk to them for the piece that I wrote, which was good because like they're willing to, they want people to succeed. Like there are people who do, and I don't think that a lot of artists don't know that either.
Yeah.
Where it's like
Yeah.
they have that mindset of like this awful person who just is gonna try to pay them $15. Like that would never happen. But
Yeah.
it's zero money or whatever. And then it's just like, I don't know, you kind of have to like destigmatize everything
Yeah.
and take it apart and then put it back together.
Yeah. There's also this problem within creativity where you almost can't appreciate it fully without being in it. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it seems, like you said, it seems like, well, you're just having fun playing these songs. You know
Right.
how to play. It's like, well, I mean, that'd be fun if I think a lot of people think they could be creative.
For sure.
But, like
It's the thing
they
of,
don't
like,
Everyone.
You
they
know,
don't
like
consciously think that, but like some part of their brain goes, I could do that if I really wanted to. I
Yeah.
could do that. And it's like, no, if you could, you would, and you can't. So
Yeah.
shut
It's
up.
the thing where
Yeah.
like I'll go shopping with my mom to stores and she'll pick something up and be like, I can make this, and I'm like, cool, let's go
Like,
home
well,
and do it.
let's
And it's like, no.
Get after it then. Marshall's is calling.
Why aren't you?
Let's go.
But it's like, but I like, you know, I've thought that too. Like if I pick something up and I'm like, no, I could probably do this, but like you won't.
It's
Probably.
so funny because that's the exact thing they do to like
As a
to
concept.
millennials.
The people.
Like this
Mhm.
attitude of, well, if you could, then just do it, like or stop whining
Right,
about
right,
it. And
right.
it's like the second you turn that around
Mhm.
and say things are not as easy as you think they are.
Yeah.
I owe a lot of people a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I think was interesting, I feel like a great like I guess parallel to this was I watched Mr. Show not too long ago, and the problems that they would do a lot of sketches where David Cross was a Gen X person and they were being down, but I was like, "Oh, this is just the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's all just like none of this is fucking real."
No,
I mean,
it's the-
it's the same thing every single time. These people are trash. These people are good. The older people are smarter. You people are dumb. And this is just like what's happening. It was crazy watching. Like, there's a specific sketch where he's like out on the street. I feel like he's like wearing a yellow shirt. I feel like I remember it. That's the only part of the sketch that I remember. But they're just like they're writing him. They're like, "You dumb Gen Xers" and stuff. And he's like, "Ugh, all you want to do is smoke weed and just do nothing." It was like the vibe of the entire sketch. He's like walking down the street or something, and people are just like ragging on him left and right. Again, this also may or may not exist, but there's something like it that exists on
No.
the show. He might not be walking down the street. I don't remember. But like, there's just this vibe, and I was like, oh shit. They say the same thing but it's just on Facebook now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like a bunch of whiny people with dumb hair being like,
It
"Millennials are
seems
stupid."
worse. It seems
White
worse
people
because
with dumb hair. That's the definition of older people.
Whatevs.
It's true.
it seems
Cancel
worse
me,
because
older
social
people.
media keeps us artificially connected to people in ways that aren't
Mhm.
real.
Yeah.
You know, like remember what I said earlier about old people don't get to define what being an adult is. That's always been true. It was true in the 60s.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it was true in the 70s. It was true in the 80s. It's true in the 90s. It's true now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just that dumb thing of like what success looks like in America, and it's like this conversation has been had a million times. Non-creatives and creative people have all, at a certain point in time, been like, you know what, you're marching to the beat of your own drum, kid, or them just being
Yeah.
like, yeah, my success isn't measured by like what my parents did. Like we know that, but
Yeah,
it's also
both.
hard not to internalize that in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form, like as you go through it, and it's also
Oh, totally.
like making jokes about it is like part of
Totally.
Yeah,
our
yeah.
whole thing. So
Yeah, it's like our culture.
it's like we know
whatever.
we're it's fine, but it
Yeah.
is also just interesting to
We're
think
always gonna
about.
butt
It's
head.
interesting too because I've had this thought too. I am a millennial, so I feel it a certain way. But I've thought from the older people's perspective, it must be crazy to have so much access to what young people are doing.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Where it
Yeah.
feels like overwhelmingly terrible because in the past, every other generation, it's like maybe you see it on television, but
Yeah, and the news
It's
media
not like-
blows it out, whatever weird thing
right.
like
but now you
Zoomers
see
are
everything
doing.
that everybody does, and it's maybe,
Like,
maybe
all
that's-
young people are doing this.
Yeah.
It's like no, like 0.14% of them did this dumb challenge, and one of them died.
Yeah.
Like all of them are doing. Is my granddaughter doing it? And it's like no, she's certainly not. I'm sure she's busy with social studies homework. Like what
Yeah.
are you
Oh
talking
my
The
about?
god,
news
they have
doesn't help.
so much
No.
homework.
The news does not help with that.
No.
Acting like everything that is done is as
It's true.
normalized as they think it is, and it's
Yeah.
not at all.
Well, they
It's-
love to
it's
blow
also
shit up.
fucked.
It's like
Makes money.
exhausting. Yeah, it's an exhausting thing to like be a part of where it's like we have to be on this right now and I'm like I disagree.
No, you don't. You don't. There's a couple
I
dumb
don't
kids.
think
There've always been dumb
so.
ones. Some
That's
of
why
them
I'm
are
so
smart.
thankful I'm
Mm.
not like really in the field. I'm like I am, but I'm not in the
Yeah.
field of like reporting and media and stuff where it's like a
Yeah,
very
it's a different vibe.
it's a very
I'm
like
glad to not be an actual
localized
sound engineer. 'Cause those people are insane. They're
You hate
crazy.
them.
You know, it's like,
we hate our own people.
we hate
We're
our own
so
people
glad
'cause
to be on the
So
outside.
many of them are so terrible.
I know collab is very focused on the arts,
Mm-hmm.
but it is much more like what I consider real journalism to be. You know, like it's not. It doesn't feel as reactive. It doesn't feel as we have to get this out today. It's like there's
sure.
a story here. Let's take some time and understand it,
Yeah.
and then write up something, and then we'll review it and
my
edit it,
favorite
and
thing.
it'll actually be a thing we're proud of,
yeah.
rather than something we have to cover up tomorrow with the next thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's weird how it's almost full cycling,
Yeah.
like news media, the stuff that for me anyway, I can read something and within the first paragraph I can usually tell if I'm gonna read the whole thing or not.
Yeah, because it's usually like you know exactly what the whole thing's gonna be.
Yeah.
And, like it's the point of a lead, really.
Right.
That's ideally.
that's another generational difference, which
Yeah.
which is like I feel like boomers are more like, well, I read this because it's CNN or it's MSNBC or it's Fox News or whatever it is, and
Mm.
it's like, well, that's why I read it, and we're like, no, That's gone. Now
Yeah.
you have to, everything you read, you have to
You
be
have to
like
read
garbage,
4
garbage,
times.
garbage, garbage, good.
You have to read the same story at least like 4 times to know what is actually true about the story because you want to find the facts that match up, and it's fucking exhausting.
Yeah, and a
Yeah.
lot of it's trash.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just trash.
Yeah.
And I think we're really good at recycling it, like or just pushing it, being like, I read that article, I got these facts out of it. The rest of it was just absolute trash.
Right.
I wonder what things will be like when we're old. Like, what
Oh,
will
we'll
we
be
doing
complaining
that's
about?
terrible?
What are we gonna
Like,
be
what will we
complaining
be
about?
bad at? Like, what do you think shit's
Oh
gonna
God,
be like?
everything.
We're gonna be like
actually-
trying to bring back Vine, and Vine's gonna be a new
Do you know what I
NBC
we already
show.
did. It's called TikTok.
Yeah, but I mean, like, no. I mean, there will be a combined network TV, which is now CNN and NBC Fox, that will have a Vine specific
All
singing
the
reality
segments are 6
show.
seconds long.
We'll be like, I
Isn't
remember
it
these.
crazy how like we all miss Vine so much? Like why?
I know.
Why did we all
Twitter
get so?
kill Vine?
Listen,
Why
it was
did we all get
because-
so emotionally connected to Vine?
Because it was
great.
the beginning of everything, and now it's
Yeah.
all over. We're done.
It was great.
I
Vine was great.
appreciated it so much.
Vine was perfect if they just left it alone.
There's
it was-
nothing better than just like
Well, and also we liked it because it got killed. Imagine if it lived another 3 years, we'd all be
That's
so
true.
mad about
Now
it.
they got TikTok.
yeah,
which is
right.
also great. But
It's
like,
cool, but I don't understand half
But
of
it's
it.
like trying to do so many things. Like I don't want to read an essay while I'm watching a TikTok video. Though I do
Not a video
respect
essay?
where like fuck that. Yo,
I'm going to send you the Riverdale video essay. Did you know the Chromoscope guys have a video essay?
No, they
YouTube
don't
channel?
have
They
a
do.
video essay.
what is
I'm
a
gonna
video,
I'm gonna kill
and-
them.
no,
video
you
essay
know,
about
this is-
what?
This is true.
It's called a video essay
It is
YouTube
called-
channel. You guys are
Oof.
trash.
Gross.
No, it's a real thing.
Shut
There's a
up.
whole community online of video
Oh
essays.
my god, I can't wait to just
What do they
like
do essays on?
All sorts of video games, movies.
Good-looking hair and
What?
like
Yeah.
I don't know, fancy cameras. What could they do video essays on?
It's like
What could it be?
it's
Good-looking
usually. I
hair.
think most of it. mo- most of it is
Yeah, but
like.
Louis, your hair is so nice.
Oh, what product do you use in it? Oh, who's to say? Oh. Really though, what are they about?
I think
Yo,
most of them are like like film analysis or games
okay,
analysis.
That's cool. All right.
That kind of thing. It's just
That
it's-
sounds interesting, and I feel like I would
it's not
genuinely
long
enjoy
enough to
film
be a
analysis.
documentary. The idea is like it's just an essay that we've made a video. It's short,
shit.
super short, like
so
10
they're
minutes.
it's a podcast.
But
Kind of. They usually like have video
Wait a
that goes
minute.
along with what they're
I
saying.
might be on this video essay thing. I watched a video essay the other day. I think I watched a 10-minute long
Jesus
video
Christ.
that was a doc on a thing. But sometimes you don't need I didn't need a full
Yeah.
hour on this.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Right.
I'm gonna
just
send you
call
one.
it the same. Call it a documentary. It's just short.
Yeah, but
a short
documentaries
doc.
scare people away. They're trying to
Video
get those
essay
Zoomer
is the most pretentious thing I've ever heard in my life.
But here's the
documentary.
I don't know
here's-
why this is rubbing me the
this is-
wrong
You know what? It could be
way.
a doc because you can see the timestamp
Yeah.
of how long it's going to be
I want to share a little story that
tell.
connects to what you were saying about being critical.
about great hair.
Sure, but they have. This is a true story. Before I knew
Okay.
the Chromies, I knew nothing about them. I was subscribed to that YouTube channel years ago. I didn't know they were from the area. I knew nothing about them, and I commented on one of their videos.
And you're
something
like, fuck you.
pretty critical. I was pretty critical of them, and I.
You're like, I hate you. You're trash. Stop
was-
everything.
No, but so I tried to tell I think Jamie about it, but it was at the wrong moment. We were
Sure.
drunk. It was
Makes
just not a
sense.
good time to say it. And he called me the other night and he goes,
Recently?
"You motherfucker." He and Nick, and it was just like amazing. Just
They're
the
going through their
coincidence of it.
comments of very
It was
old
just
videos.
it was kind of weird though.
Are they going through their comments from 7 years ago?
Oh, because they got traction on one of their videos recently and they made a new one.
They just sound
I don't know if I should be
so
saying.
you were
this,
critical
but-
of their video that got
I
got
love
recent
this.
traction? Sounds like you were wrong.
I love this
no, I was
inside
critical
look.
of a different one.
Oh,
I'll tell you
Like
guys
an
about
old-
why after. But in my
I
defense,
cannot be on the
Oh,
air.
I was gonna be on the air.
I
You
was
know
spicy.
we love secrets,
Spicy.
dude.
Let me get into spice. What are you talking about?
We
I'm-
love talking shit.
I was
it.
being critical because I thought their channel had a lot of promise, and I felt like this was like
Ooh,
like I
that's
felt-
already coming from a fucking position of being holier than thou. I love
It
it.
was.
What
You
a
did.
was.
It's
I love it.
7 years ago, he said,
Yeah.
"Dear gentlemen,
Dear gentlemen, I do believe
I do see that you have
my
so much
dearest
potential,
dog
and
Scoot and I
I-
watching your videos. It was
His name is Scout.
Scoot was the first dog, and then the dog died because of how bad the videos were, and then he had to get a second
No.
dog.
He
No,
said,
they're
named
good
it
videos.
I do see that you're trying
I
to
know.
pursue
They're very
a
good.
career in the film industry, and I do wish you the
Yes.
best of luck, but I
Don't you
think
know
it
that film
could
is dead,
be
boy?
better.
You need to do more video essays.
Have you ever heard of Martin Scorsese?
Martin Scorsese?
I would suggest that you might watch a few of his films.
Alfred Pacino.
Signed, truly yours. That's exactly
Truly
how-
yours.
yeah.
But isn't that kind of a crazy coincidence that I would comment on
What
their
are the
YouTube
odds?
video and then they moved in literally behind me a month before I moved out and then we weren't friends until later. I don't know. It's just crazy
That's wild.
coincidences.
Fate.
Crazy things have happened. I would say
Fate.
that's definitely.
That's one of my favorite stories now.
What,
Yeah,
are,
nah.
what are the
I'll
odds
tell
of
my
that?
children about that too.
I'm
for
in,
sure.
well, I'm wearing this blanket up.
Jimmy
Like,
Decembo
two
commented on it.
children.
Oh, I love it. Also, Decembo. There we go. I've never heard your name said out
Oh,
loud.
I should have asked you to try to say it.
Yeah.
I would have been like Jimmy.
Some-
I was like thing, and I'd be like, oh no, that's an Instagram name.
I think I'm an emotional masochist because
want-
I love my emotions to be absolutely torn apart and destroyed. I love it. Like it makes me feel
That's
something.
wild. That's
I love
wild.
it. I mean, I hate it, but I love it. It's like a.
It's
It
gonna
makes
be a
me.
firm no from me.
It makes me feel because I think I'm really good at compartmentalizing my emotions, which can be very useful in some aspects, but like I have a hard time. I like it when something is like, no, you're gonna feel something now, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's like okay in this space, and it's like a certain amount of time where I'm gonna feel something intensely. Whereas
Mm.
when it's in like real life, I usually have a tendency to go, okay, this is what's not, or like, and that's bad because sometimes I get really mad because I pent it all up and I didn't do anything about it. You know, it's
Yeah.
not claiming it's healthy or anything like that, but
yeah.
I like that having that finite space where I'm gonna allow myself to feel something
Mm.
and very strongly. And Marriage
Yeah.
Story was one of those for me. What I also liked about it was I feel like I'm gonna watch Marriage Story on Valentine's Day, but what I liked about it was like if there's a bad guy in that movie, it is the system. Like the lawyers suck, but they're kind of just doing their job.
Mhm.
I don't know anything about this movie.
It's about
get a
it's about a
divorce.
divorce.
It's Adam Driver and what's her face?
Scarlett.
Scarlett.
ScarJo.
Everyone
ScarJo.
made that meme of her like dancing really badly in the auditorium that looks like all medication commercials.
Yeah.
It's like this medicine will probably kill you and give you cancer and like all the things, and she's just like,
Yeah. Laura Dern and Ray
Right.
Liotta play their shithead lawyers.
yo,
Who,
hold
like-
on, did you know that they made a Rat Pack movie about like Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr.,
No.
and Ray Liotta played Frank Sinatra?
What? Why Ray Liotta?
Yo, I
He's
have
not
no
good looking
idea.
enough.
Anyways,
He's not-
that's just my
Sinatra
favorite.
that good looking?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, he was all
had
blue
old
eyes.
blue eyes. It's
Yeah,
alright. We
I
don't
think
need to
they
go
just
into
had
it.
the
I
power,
mean, he
though.
had the whole
That's
thing with
just
Marilyn
something
Monroe.
that I learned recently, and I think that's like my favorite fun fact. Because I
Yeah.
will never watch that film, but I
Isn't it-
love just knowing that was
Do you
a
ever
thing.
have those thoughts that like Frank Sinatra was involved with the mob? With the
Hell
mafia?
yeah.
And like, do we have stars like that? Do we have like superstars
No,
that
because
are?
the
It's called the
mafia-
Illuminati.
Oh shit, yeah.
No, they're involved with Scientology.
Yeah, but
Oh,
now I
is
feel like
that
all
what
of
it
it's
is?
changed.
I thought
don't-
it was just like a money thing.
This could all
Yeah,
just be so
probably.
like wildly speculative. Like I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but it feels.
Sinatra was definitely in the mob.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm not
Oh.
saying that I don't know that Sinatra was in the mob. I just mean that, like at this point in time, like what is the mob?
Yeah.
Like the mob at that point in time. No. Oh my God, my.
What,
No,
really?
not
What
today!
is the mob? What is the mob but a family?
We're gonna do a video essay on what the mob.
No, I just mean like at this point, obviously, just things have changed, so it's like it's hard to say. I feel
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
seems so obvious,
Yeah.
and now it's
Yeah.
like definitely everything about how organized crime works must
We
have
love
changed.
organized
It
crime
has
as a
to- it
culture,
had to
though,
be.
don't we?
Oh, it's so
Isn't it
cool.
so fun?
It kind of
Oh,
is.
I
though.
can't get enough.
Love it. I love
I'm shitting on
guys
myself right
whacking
now
other
because
guys.
I
love it.
literally
I love it.
can't get enough.
Well,
That's
there's
great.
something honest about it.
Ugh.
There's something about it that's like we're all a little bit like this.
Well, like
So,
Tony
you
would
know,
say,
we're all,
we're
we're
all-
all a little bit like this.
we're all soldiers. We're all soldiers. And then when one of us goes down, one of us goes down.
That's right.
they're all still, they're
And
all
you
like,
don't
they're
rat
all
anyone
participating.
out.
Yeah.
Rat anybody out.
Yeah.
They're all participating.
You take care of your family, you take care of their families.
don't
You're
know.
all in one until one of you betrays you, and then your family is up for murder.
And then you take them out onto a boat, and then you murder
and you have
them in the
you have
middle
a
of the
nice
ocean.
glass of tequila first, and you talk about old times.
Remember that tea? Remember that tea? Remember we did that thing?
God, he was one of my favorite characters.
I trusted you.
Love that show, dude.
Great show. So fucking good. I trusted you.
I've
That
actually
between that
never
and
seen The
ooh,
Sopranos.
you should do it. It's
I'm, like,
so
afraid.
bad, it's
Fucking
good.
funny.
It's like badly filmed, but it's like the content of it
It's
is
a great
good.
show. It's really
Um,
absurd. Though.
It is wild.
For the time for television.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Right.
it like pretty great?
But there are some
because TV was
but
so
there are
bad.
some
Yeah.
moments where I feel like they're almost fucking with us. Like I remember before you saw that episode where Carmela was walking away from the principal
was
at school,
that was
and
an
I was
edit.
like, "Yo, you're gonna see this moment, and you're gonna laugh out loud," because I literally screamed at my TV.
That was
like
an edit
she
moment.
like. She's walking away, like down the hallway away from this person, and just like, and then they suddenly make it slow mo, but then like freeze her in this way that feels very much like
Why?
PowerPoint.
And
Like
then it's like,
like
star fade.
yes, no, not even
Why?
kidding. Like
Because
PowerPoint
there was so
fades
much
away.
cocaine happening and so much oversight.
It is the most unreal, and they're like, it happens all the time in the show.
Yeah,
It's,
there's so
that's
much-
what's so
so much
fantastic
oversight,
about it.
yeah.
It's so
I'll
great.
watch it.
There's
Yeah.
also incredible moments in the show, and also really
yeah.
bad ones. And
It's
they,
kind of
I
been
looked,
on the list
I
forever.
googled this shit about the Carm thing, and they
You
only
did, yeah.
noticed it when they did a like commentary, and they
Yeah.
were like, oh,
They're like, oh, what
look
is that?
up. We did
She
that.
literally, it's like her face even is like,
That's like star fade.
yeah, dude,
Like,
it's wild.
one of the
It's
most,
wild.
the most
And
powerful
it's supposed
character
to
of the
be,
show.
it's supposed to be like her like fuck you moment, like this
It's
powerful
such a
walk
boss
away
moment for her. It's
and
incredible.
they ruined it with this,
And I'm just like, oh, one of the peak moments of the
absurd-
show, and then she's just like,
like
and then it's like star fade. You're like,
crazy.
what
So
the
they
fuck?
like ruined it in the edit, is what you're
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah, not
They-
on purpose, not on purpose. Just like
yeah, I
someone.
bet she acted the shit out of that because she's amazing.
Yeah, she's incredible. I think that somebody was like, you know what? We got to remember to fucking change this. What if we put a star fade over it? There's no way we'll forget about it because it
Yeah.
looks so bad.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, edit's all done. And they just sent it out and it
Yeah.
appeared
Yeah.
like that.
At the
It's
time-
unbelievable.
At the time, they were probably like, "You should not be spending more than this amount of time on an episode because we need you to do like."
That was a couple seasons
know?
in though.
It was.
It was definitely a hit show
It
by
was
that
like
point in time.
4.
If it was season 1, I would kind of
Yeah,
get
but-
it. It was
She's
like
another
if I know
heartbreaking
anything-
character for me.
If I know anything about large organizations, is that they lag in changing, even if it is successful.
Mm.
Like
Right.
part of them is probably like, it's successful. Why would we change anything?
Yeah.
Why would we have them spend more time on it? That's just going to cost more
Oh,
money.
you mean Terry and
Oh, you
editing? He's
mean-
great. He's never done
like
anything wrong. And
Game
Terry's
of
just like,
Thrones when we're drinking Starbucks and water bottles and like, yo,
I
fuck
got
that
so
show.
mad
Never
about that.
mind. I'm sorry I
no.
brought this up because I don't want to
No,
fucking talk about
I
Game of
didn't
Thrones.
even watch
we
it.
don't
so
we
I
don't
don't know
have
what
to
it is.
talk about Game of Thrones,
I'm
but I do want to
upset.
say I appreciate it because I was starting to get nervous about that show early in that season, and I felt like a lot of people were really forgiving it for
Tell
some
you
shit
what.
that they shouldn't have.
I feel rage when I think about the season of that show.
I watched a couple episodes. I enjoyed it. That's I didn't watch the whole thing.
Of the whole season or the whole show, or
I've watched several random episodes.
Okay.
Good.
and I
That's
was like-
good.
That's
I
probably
watched
good.
one where the guy
It's-
pushes the boy out of the window, and
Yeah,
I
it's
was
the
like,
first
"Whoa, that's
episode.
crazy!" That's the first episode.
That's the first
Mhm.
episode.
It is.
It's a
It'll-
fantastic show, and it's the thing that hurts is that it's like, why you do
They
me dirty like this?
phoned it in, dude.
Yeah. That's what I think too. I feel like those two guys were like, I don't want
Well,
to do
they
this
had
anymore.
the other show.
But I don't want anybody else to do this. I want my name to be on it from beginning
It's
to
like
end.
a bad relationship.
We've talked about this
It's
a
like,
lot
I don't,
on
we
the
can't break up.
the,
I
ha-
can't
the
break up with
hashtag
Game of Thrones.
collabcast.
Oh,
I
boy.
bet it has come
with
up a lot.
Katie, because Katie does like our like sound video person.
Oh, yeah.
She does come in a lot, like in the Kiki episode where we can't think of an actor's name or something. She'll like be
She's
screaming
your
it from the-
Jamie.
yeah.
But like
And
Ray Liotta.
She'll be like, yeah, exactly. And so she always like chimes in about the last season of Game of Thrones because it comes up so much that because I like get so upset about it. And it was like they had this whole other show that was promised to them where they were going to be like narrating the like Confederate Confederate soldiers of the Civil War. Like it was gonna be like their story, and so obviously it got canceled like immediately. But they were promised this whole thing on HBO, and then they got involved in Disney.
Star Wars,
Right.
which got canceled.
So right. So it was like back to back, but they thought they had it all lined up, and so they were like, "Cool, we'll just wrap this thing up real quick and like whatever." And they
That's what you get for
botched
doing a
it.
bad job, right?
Yeah,
That's
dude.
what I think.
Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if they did an actual good job with the end of Game of Thrones and didn't catch so much shit for it. Like, would they probably have something come out of those deals that they did?
I feel like the
probably
truth
not.
is they needed at least one more
Like,
season, and they didn't want
I
to do it
agree.
anymore. And
Or
they
at least
should have been
several more
like- yeah,
episodes.
they should have been like, our hearts are not in this. We've been doing this for how many
Listen.
years? I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, to give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe their heart just was not in it anymore. They didn't care about the story and they just wanted it over with. Hand it off. Pass it. I'm sure there's 1,000 people who love it and would love to do it and would do a great job.
Namely, one Jimmy DeZembo.
Yeah, I'm known
It's
for
like
my
Heidi
directing and
Klum
writing.
says, in fashion, one day you're in, the next you're out.
Wow.
Auf Wiedersehen, kiss, kiss.
Wow. Truer words have never been
I'm glad
said.
you
Project
get that off
Runway.
your chest, though, because it's a big... I get it.
Fantastic show.
It was such a good show. I'm just going to ignore the final season, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I wish I had a little bit, like, I wish I could, I guess, like, have the things tied up.
In better
There are
ways?
just so many things. Like,
You mean like Jamie Lannister's shit ending? Considering how good a story his was?
fuck Jamie Lannister, don't care about him. How dare you shut down Cersei's character in that way?
She was like not in it.
The main villain of this entire show, you're gonna just bury her in rocks?
She was barely in the final season.
Dude,
It was so stupid.
she's
believe
she's
you.
one of the most
I
powerful,
believe you in
like,
all of Reddit.
characters I've
this went
seen
poorly.
on television. I'm obsessed with her.
You know what? I want to say something because you brought up, like, I hated that there was a part of me that was like, I don't want to be a part of this. But they're fucking right. Like, this is garbage.
I'm
It's
sorry.
bad.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes people release bad albums.
Bad
Sometimes
television.
TV shows have bad seasons. It's a bummer. It's not great.
I could forgive a bad season that I felt like there was effort in it.
Yeah, no, I mean this one seemed to really hurt people, which was it seems to be like possibly the worst season of television
In terms of
at least in
downfall,
the last
like,
decade.
yeah.
And how like hard, like how high it was and how low
Yeah. Do you
it fell. It's rough.
There's this picture. It's a meme. It's like the back half of the horse is painted really well.
Oh yeah.
And then the front half is like a kid's drawing. It's like Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 5, and
Yeah.
then Game
Yeah.
of Thrones seasons 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Look, I like it better with these off.
Really?
Yeah.
Go for it.
They
Then.
squeeze my head.
Do they?
I have a giant like watermelon shaped head. So
You do have a
Oh,
watermelon
no.
shaped head. It's nice.
you motherfucker. How could you, Jimmy? No, it's fine. Just it
I
feels
don't
more
know.
natural.
Your head feels like it's just normal. It's a head. It's a head.
I do what I can, but local.
It's
things,
proportional
local
to your
things.
body. Anyway.
Besides my
that was a good thing.
watermelon head, watermelon body, Jimmy. Excuse me. Body image issues, dog. Oh my god, dude.
You're
is
nailing
going-
this.
This is going so poorly, dude. By the time I'm done with you, you won't be allowed in any basement in the capital
You're
region.
shut out of DIY,
You're shut out,
Jimmy.
you're
said.
shut out of the nightmare that is DIY. Oh no.
That's- okay.
Oh no.
You can't go to a place that
I
smells like
did-
pee pee. Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah, but there's
18-year-olds
something-
are asking me why I'm here. Oh no.
Yeah, no.
as much as I get
Nope.
what you're saying about that, it is like a vital part of what makes things work.
Oh yeah, DIY is tight. It's just funny to make fun of.
Yeah.
I feel like you were about to go into something and then I segued you into DIY.
No,
which
you're
I
good.
did
Well,
not
I
want
just was
to
curious
want to.
about because I'd never been to a Chateau show, but it seems to have grown.
Yeah, it's definitely grown. The space is better. The people, again, I gotta tell you, man, everything is the same. It's always the same.
Yeah,
2010, 2005. I mean, they're all vastly different, but also it's just still the same thing. Well, it's like,
Yeah,
the-
no,
you
I
know,
know what you're
the
saying.
people. What's
I
the
just
thing where it's
like
like the
that
people have
sentence.
changed, but the game has changed, but the players are the same. You know,
Yeah.
like whatever the thing is. It's like, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
mean, so yeah, there are between 30 to 70 people who go to the shows there at my house, which is how it's been for the past like 3 years, and it goes well. The sound is good. I own a bunch of decent gear.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to have bought a bunch of stuff, and it's been chill.
Yeah.
Well, even if it's not growing in the number of people, it seems to have grown in what it's doing.
Yeah, I guess people come through and like it, and they want to come back and stuff.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
mean,
it's definitely been nice. Videos, the audio quality.
Mhm.
how
It's that I just feel like I'm at a peak now at this point where it's like I can't do really that many shows, but it can't get really any better.
Mm.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
when something has a life, it's like we're at the I'm not gonna buy any more shit.
Well, it's a pretty. It's,
know?
it's a pretty. It's an undertaking to do it,
Mm.
and you're kind of doing it for free. I mean,
Oh, definitely.
you know, like so. So I mean,
it's like validity though. Like I get what I can out of it. Like it's not like I don't
oh
get.
no, I'm not saying like you
like-
don't get anything. Of course you do, but
Yeah.
it's one thing to say. A lot of people say, you know what we should do? We should have a show in our
Yeah.
basement, or we should do this thing, and then don't really follow through on that because ideas are easy.
Yeah.
But you,
Whereas like watching the kind of evolution of the basement happen over the past few years has been kind of cool. As like
Sweet.
an outside, well, I guess like somebody who's attending the parties and watching the space literally grow in what you're willing to
Yeah, we
do
got
to
rid of
it.
those walls. That was
You
sick.
Yeah.
remember? I
I saw
remember
that.
the
Used to
first-
not be great down there.
It
I saw
was
the-
like literally like there was nowhere to stand, and then it's like a wall came down, and then another wall came down, and then you knocked out all that stuff
Mr.
in the back.
Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Like, booted
But
down.
it was like
Sick.
more and more was like
Yeah.
opening, and like there was more. It was like the space for the people to perform just kept growing and growing into this like very like traditional.
yeah,
When we first
Blah,
moved into
blah,
that
like-
into that house, it was crazy how much it was. I wish that I had taken pictures at that time. There are some pictures of
But
people
you can't really
performing
get
in
the
video,
space.
but you don't really get how rough it was when we first moved into that house.
yeah.
I was doing like practice. I was in this band called Party Boat, and we would do practice down there. And I was literally using the wooden doors that used to be like a part of the house to like sequester off an area that I thought was at least like tolerable for us to play in. And it's like, and then we, then I cleared out this pile of dirt that was down
Yeah.
there for some reason, then moved this thing and then moved this thing. And it just, we finally took everything came out of the basement basically.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Everything came out of the basement basically. And then we were able to like just open the whole thing up so that people could actually attend
Mm.
the shows and not be like
comfortably.
The other thing too,
terrified by what they saw,
Or like
having-
so hot in the summer.
the thing that DIY.
so
Like,
hot.
so
It's
hot.
so cold in the
Like-
winter. It was,
but
and it
like-
was so hot in the summer.
And like you're
You were
kind
like
of like in there with everyone, and you're like.
It was terrible. You were like a fried egg. It was insane.
Mm.
Everyone was sizzling. It
Yeah.
was wild.
But the thing about DIY is it opens doors that aren't typically opened. You know what I mean?
There's
that's
there's
like
less
a,
framework that you kind of have to fit into. I think
Yeah,
is what my
yeah.
favorite thing about
well,
it
the other
is.
thing too is like if you want to play, there's no lack of places to play, but a lot of places are gonna want to know why should I let you play here? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And like, not that you don't do that somewhat, but
Yeah,
you know, like you talked about being critical, but there's a difference between being like, here's what you can do to improve, or like a bar can't be like, hey, you've not proven yourself at all. I have
Yeah.
nothing to go on here.
And
I'm gonna lose money if I let you play here.
Yeah, and I guess it has
Maybe.
more to do with being critical of like established acts and people who are
Yeah.
Yes.
like I'm much more willing to let like young people who are interested in playing and are interested in like giving it a shot because like I mean you could argue whether or not any musical projects that I've had or whether are good or bad, it doesn't matter, but it's like at a certain point they were arguably only bad.
Yes.
You know, like you could only really make the argument that something I was doing is bad, but I was given a shot
Mm.
and then like you learn and you get better. So like those people I'm always happy to have in. And so it's like I like being critical, but it's like giving a shot to X, Y, and Z band that's coming through. They're like, oh well, this person really needs a spot.
Yeah, but
It's
I'm,
like,
I'm sure
okay,
you
we'll
even
do
give
it.
them advice. Like, here's what I liked about you guys. Or, yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, I would say I don't offer up much of that because I feel like in terms of most likely if they're playing, then it's I will want them to play. I don't just
Yeah.
like it's like I'm into it if they're
Mm.
gonna play, but it'll still be something weird, and it's like it has to do with like maybe it would be a choice that I would make
Mm.
specifically. I like that's not the record that I would make, or the sound that I would have, but I'm like, it's fucking cool.
That's
like
cool.
keep doing whatever it is that you're doing.
Right.
That's great. And I guess that's like the whole point.
Yeah.
It's like being so it's like when I say like being critical, it mainly has to do with established acts where I'm like, why are you established?
Yeah.
What is it that you've
Yeah.
what is this? What are you doing?
I see.
Why?
I get
what
you
is
mean.
this?
Yep.
And it's like, again, mainly has to do with like, it's like whatever white dude that's doing whatever thing. And I'm like, I mean, as a white dude, I'm just like, I mean, I can at least rag on you. I don't know, everyone is, but like, let's talk about it. Why does your music suck? So why is it so bad? What happened? Oh, you don't have anything to talk about? Oh, it's a bummer. You should figure out how to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's like that's kind of it. So
I'm totally on board with that. Yeah.
the younger people who are like trying to do something interesting, people who are fighting against something, like that's like, then let's fucking do it.
Well, what I mean too is like, if somebody says I've played at Chateau, that's a place lots of people have played. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Yeah, there's been a lot of shows.
Like I like going to the Hollow for shows. I think it's a great place for shows. I think they do a good job there.
Place is great.
Savoy too. I think they do a really great
Also,
job
like,
there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's gonna be tougher for them to open. I think Savoy does a pretty good job of being open to multi-act things that let in somebody that maybe they're not so sure about.
Definitely. Savoy does that band, or that band. That place is like the most open, I think, in terms of whatever thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like they really genuinely
Their setup's perfect for it too.
try
Yeah.
in a cool way, which is awesome. And the Hollow is a little less so, but in the fact that it's a 300 cap room, like
Yeah.
you should not be playing there. If
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
cannot, if 100 people will not show up to your show, then
Right.
don't play the Hollow.
Right.
And if you're curious, it's the same thing. It's like if you can't figure out that at least 100 people will buy your vinyl, don't get vinyl. You don't need it.
Yeah.
You want it because you think that it'll make your parents think that you're real. I know, because I did that. I was like, I made a vinyl record. It's like, no, you don't need vinyl unless if 100 people will purchase it
Mhm.
that aren't your family and friends, then fucking get that shit.
Mhm.
Do it. But it's like,
Is it worth
like,
it or not?
can you actually do this? And these are like, there's levels to all of it.
There's a
Like,
practical business aspect to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which many people ignore. Are you viable? Would people care about you?
Yeah.
Why do you have a goatee?
But even everything.
Shave the goatee. No one wants it. We don't like it. No one likes it. We're terrified of it.
We're terrified.
I also don't know anyone who has a goatee.
I don't
No.
either.
But
Yeah, but still, it's a goatee of like the goatee
A
could be anything.
personality.
Who knows?
Savoy is kind of perfect for it because the bar is so separated and the space for the music. It's like, well, nobody's going to be eating dinner now anyway.
Yeah.
And if people don't want to listen to music, they can just stay over here. And the people who do can just come grab a drink and go over there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It seems to be really worth it for them in a way that the Hollow is like, we have a whole separate bar just for this.
Yeah.
If you're not
Mhm.
bringing people in,
Yeah.
we're losing a lot of money here because we
Yeah,
got a
yeah, I mean,
bartender.
they're both
and-
things that should definitely
Yeah.
exist
Yeah.
in Albany. They're
But
both
I mean,
things that are
I
really
feel
doing
like
it, you know?
Chateau has its place there too,
For sure.
which is it's hard for me to put my finger on it exactly, but I feel
College
like
radio kids and weirdos.
and it opens doors, and I think it makes
And
it
also
feel,
me and my 30-year-old friends playing indie rock.
well,
There you go.
Well, the
Coupon show, March 7th. Don't miss it.
the thing is like, if you got a band and you're really trying, but you're new and you haven't established anything yet, and you're young and you don't really know what you're doing,
Yeah.
then it's cool to have a place where somebody's like, come play here. It won't cost you anything. We're not gonna make anything, but like maybe, well, I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean,
It-
we give all the money. I mean, the house doesn't make any money ever. The touring bands normally are the ones who make
yeah,
money. Well, normally, and that's where I think the place shines in a way in terms of
that's
like
what I mean.
there are touring bands who need a place and really could, like benefit from having a place for their voice to exist in Albany,
Mhm.
and then they get the money from the show.
Mhm.
It's like there's a bunch of like bullshit things that like we've done that have been helpful to people that I could like rattle off right now, but it seems masturbatory.
Yeah,
But it's been I think that we've been helpful for a bunch of different marginalized groups or like people who have needed a spot, and I think that that's great.
Yeah.
And I'm always on board for that shit.
Especially like people who are on a tour and a date before or after got canceled.
Yeah.
And
They
like
just need a place to go.
They need a place to
Mm.
go.
it's the theoretical idea behind an opening band. I mean, in a way, you want your opening band to be getting something out of it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the idea. It doesn't seem to happen usually.
Yeah, and it's good when we have, because we'll do like a local opens and then like a touring band and then, like another local or something. Like you try to sandwich it so that people are actually there for them. And
There's just such a wide range that most places can't do.
yeah,
Most places can't do that wide range of types of acts.
yeah, it's all in a way. I mean, to bring it back, I guess, to like a weird word that you could use. It's like like an audio thing is like compression. It's like we've made a little realm, like a little space for people to be in, and it doesn't serve all the needs. Other places serve those different needs better, which is great. Which is why I'm glad that other places exist. It does suck the place isn't public.
Yeah.
Like it is like exclusionary in some ways, which I don't like. It's
Right.
not part of it. It's not like, but it's like if you do one thing, then this other thing can't happen.
Yeah.
It's like, so it's not. It's the point of it isn't that it's exclusionary. The point is that like and for all the people that are bitching about never being able to play my fucking house, show up, come do a show. Jimmy, because you've been dying to open a gig. No, I'm just kidding. But like, if you're complaining about not being able to play my house, it's like show up to a show.
Yeah.
Come here and hang out and let's chill and like that's how it happens. Like the amount of years it took for some of my very best friends to play at the house.
Yeah.
It's like because it all just comes from like what flows out of it, and it's like that's the point. I don't know. I'm not like booking this place
I get it.
for any reason other than anything. And so if you're like, well, we can't play there, we gotta play, like whatever, like come through. Let's drink a seltzer. Let's watch some bands and hang out, and then like it'll be easier for you to play a show when you show up to the place.
Yeah.
Cold calling this place is not how this fucking works.
Yeah.
And it seems exclusionary, but like, what else am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I don't have time to like make sure. Well, what's about the interplay of this specific? I don't know.
That's I just had the lawn sausage. 2 guys from the lawn sausages on there, and there's a similarity there in that they were both on WRPI and have a record store, and they were tired of these bands complaining there was nowhere to play, and they were like they formed as a band just to be like, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
You can definitely play. You can make an album. You can play. You can do it. We know nothing. We don't know what we're doing. We're not musicians, and we're gonna do it. And they did it, and that was their whole point. That was the whole point of why they were doing what they were doing. Because I think in talking, there's goods and bads here. There are the people who just want to whine, and that's a real thing. But there's also the what.
Yeah, definitely.
There's definitely,
100%.
but there's also people who like, I think maybe are afraid to assert themselves in any way. Do you know what I mean? Like they're afraid.
And I respect that, but it's also like I don't know if it's.
But there's a difference between
you can't
like
fix
being
that.
afraid to assert yourself and then like complaining about it later on like social media and being like, oh, like I'm being ignored by everyone around me. So like if you want to support me, I guess you can by like doing this and that. But like making yourself out to be the victim is like exhausting.
It's not helping.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to work with you.
Yeah. Why would
It's
you?
like the same thing.
And there's people that are actually victims of like bullshit within the music industry
Yeah.
that exist, and it's like
and they're fucking trucking along, doing their thing, and like
we're doing what they can. It's like if you look like me and are complaining as though like you're unable to like
Yeah.
get a gig in this area, it's like you might just be bad. I don't know.
Can I totally pivot for a second? Because
Yeah.
I want to ask.
Please.
I want to ask you a question because I didn't get a chance to read it, but you wrote an article recently about a theater, a play.
yeah.
And I want to read it. I meant to read it today, and I didn't get a
It's
chance
okay.
to. I want to read it, but
It's really
I was.
long.
I'm
Disgusting,
I'm
Jimmy.
It's so
intrigued. I'm
long.
intrigued. I was intrigued by.
How I've never written about theater before, and I
Well, no,
don't
you-
really
well,
care
you-
for it as a genre.
No, like you
No,
you teased it a little bit,
I did.
and
Well, okay, yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm
no, go.
interrupting you.
I'm curious about the story. I am gonna read it anyway, but
All right. So essentially, what had happened was, our like the creative director at Proctor's, who like worked with us forever, Richard Loveridge. He's like the best of the best. Amazing photographer. He is like doing this archiving thing where he's like doing a bunch of like metadata on all the photography that he has that's like in the archives of like Proctor's, and like Proctor's owns Capitol Rep, and like they have the new place in Saratoga, so they're kind of like doing all of this like backlogging and kind of like blogging it. He's like, I think he's doing it a lot on like personal interest, and he just like wants to tell the stories of all the stuff that he's found. And he found this set of photos and was trying to figure out like where they belonged and what it was from. And he brought it to Paul Grondel at the Writers Institute to ask, like, he's like, hey, I think this was like rep related, and he's like, oh yeah, that was Toni Morrison's play that she put on in Albany. It was her first play, and at that time they like had assumed it was her only play, which was actually not true. She has a few that she's done since this one, but he came to me and was like, yo, I have this crazy story. Basically, he had like, oh, he had gone to Paul Grondel after he found the Wikipedia page, actually. So he had found this Wikipedia page that was like, yeah, Toni Morrison wrote this play called Dreaming Emmett, and she put it on in the Cap Rep in Albany, and it was commissioned by the Writers Institute. And then after its first run, she burned all the copies and like never talked about it again.
Why?
Right? So it was like this whole weird story where Richard like comes up to me at my desk and he's like, I have the craziest story for you. And I'm like, you know I love a crazy story.
You know I'm here for it.
You know me for it. And he's like, I found all these pictures, and like goes through the whole thing. And I'm like, that's wild. Like, I'd love to, I want to know why. Like, because like Toni Morrison's crazy. I've only just begun reading her books, and they're fucking intense. And I'm like, she wrote plays. Like, what? How? I have so many questions. So I wanted to figure it out. So we ended up, I just like started asking. I like talked to Paul at the Writers Institute, and then he led me to this guy who was the founder of Cap Rep, like in the 80s when she had put on the play. And essentially like the Writers Institute commissioned her to do this play because it was the first year they were commemorating Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday as like a national holiday. Yeah. And so they were like, oh, she had either come to them and said, I want to write this play, or she was already working on it. I don't remember right now like which one it was. And they were like, yeah, like we'll pay for it, whatever. And so then she brought it to these writers, and they're like, cool, we'll put it on. And they hired all these people out of the city. So like this one, the director had worked on The Wiz on Broadway, like when it was first coming out. The main actor, Joseph Phillips, who's like an amazing person. I got to talk to him about his role in it for the story. He was on the Cosby Show. He like played, I forget what his name was, but like he was like the main boyfriend of one of the daughters.
I think I know who,
I can't
what
remember.
he looks like.
Mhm.
I think he's in my.
He was like
there. He was like a regular.
yeah, he had only done like one episode of the show before he did the play. So it was like he was kind of like,
Oh wow.
was like,
That's
hey,
really cool.
he's like, hey, that worked out. I don't know if it's gonna go somewhere yet, but I'm still gonna keep doing theater. And he found out about this play and like did it. And then there was just like,
This is a nuts story.
it's insane because then there was all this like, I guess the director was extremely like, it's like hard to, it's like everybody is kind of like touchy about talking about him because he's passed. And so it's like, I guess he was like pretty abusive to a lot of the people, like made everyone on set cry. Even like the main actor was like, yeah, I remember he was fine with me for almost the entire play, but like it got to like kind of I was the last person essentially that like was still on good terms with him by the end of the production. And I remember thinking in my head, like, I was your last friend in the world. Like, he was a difficult person to work with. Like, he was actually like fired from The Wiz, and another director got on for when it actually got onto Broadway. Like, there's all this stuff, but he was really good friends with Toni Morrison, and she like really trusted him to do this play like in the way that she wanted. And the play was actually about, and like I realized that I never actually said that what it was about, but it was about based on Emmett Till.
Oh,
Yeah,
powerful subject.
yeah. So it was heavy. And
Yeah.
I got to talk to this like professor who was basically like, nobody was ready to talk about that. And even like Joseph Phillips was saying that it was such an intense experience. Like, I guess Gilbert Moses, who was the director, had them do all of these like rehearsals where they had to do improv where he made them reenact the kidnapping and lynching, like almost
my
move for
God.
move to the point where like they got up to like asking like the woman like, is this the boy? And he like told me like how he felt. He's like, I knew they weren't gonna kill me, but I felt such real fear, like I just wanted it to end. And like that was just so much a part of their regular practice. And then like the actual play was like essentially giving, it was like based on Emmett Till, but it's this like nameless, faceless boy who is like shot in the back for stealing a kite. And it's supposed to represent like, I mean, this is happening in the 80s, and like this shit happens today. Like it's the same shit we're still living with, where like young black men are shot and murdered and victimized by people in power, especially cops. And like it's like we've never gotten away from it, which is why for me I was like, why don't we have this now? And essentially, I mean, a lot of people think that it was just like too difficult for people to process. I mean, it's not like a movie you can turn off. You
right.
can't like put down a book.
No.
Like I mean, in reading some of her books, I have to like literally put them down and take a lap for a little, because I like, it's a lot. It's like very real, you know? Like, I mean, she was a very like visceral writer, so I can't imagine what it was like to watch that happen. And it's just like
Theater is like that.
super intense. But yeah, I mean, all this promo stuff was planned for it, just I think because of the um recognizable names in it.
And it just got burned.
Yeah, I mean, she just didn't want to and it's still unclear because like who can speak for her, you know
No
what I
one.
mean?
No one.
Because right now it's up to like everyone I've talked to being like, we speculate that maybe she, because she was such like a really practiced and like perfectionist of a writer, that she looked at it being played out and thought like this wasn't what I wanted it to be, and shut it down. Or like
So,
maybe it was too
Toni
difficult.
Morrison pass away?
Yeah, last year, like last summer, so like pretty recently.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we don't have a take on like,
That's nuts.
and it was, yeah, like, and even the Writers Institute has a copy of the script, but like I was told it's not for public
So
viewing.
no one's read it. No one read it.
Joseph Phillips has a copy still. Yeah. He told me he's like doesn't know where it is because it's like in his stuff, but I do know some people from the theater community have reached out to me after reading it and been like, you think we could get it? And I was like, I mean, hit up the Writers Institute, like ask them what it takes, because like they just like, I didn't get like a clear
That's
answer as to like,
crazy.
was it
like
because
with the right participants and the right
right
director, it would
right
make
like
sense.
could it be unearthed respectfully? Is that maybe what they're concerned about?
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
or
They-
is
they
it a
wanna
matter
do
of her
it, yeah.
estate? That's
That's
another
fair.
question.
There's-
I also had like tried to reach out to the Emmett Till estate to see maybe like they didn't like that, the association, but I never got an answer back from them.
There's so many possibilities
Right,
here.
there's so much up.
It could be the time felt unsayable. Like we can't say this.
Oh yeah.
You know?
No, I can't imagine watching that play out. And it was like it was like a dreamlike kind of portrayal of his life, because the basis of the play was Emmett Till as a concept is coming back to life and wreaking havoc on the white men who murdered him. So
Oh,
he's
shit.
taking vengeance on them. So it was very much like they were like big, huge, like I put all the like the photos up that we have
It's
on
kind
the
of like-
page, so you can see like there are these giant paper mache masks that they wore, and like that represented not only like the white men that murdered him, but also like represented all the black men who have been murdered and forgotten.
Yeah.
So like they have no names, they have no faces, like nobody knows who they are anymore, because like they're not remembered in a public light the way that like, say, I don't know, if anyone's a fan, quote unquote, of true crime, like who do we remember? We remember mostly like
The killer.
young white women and killers. Yeah, they're glorified in a way. We like are obsessed with them. We aren't obsessed with like the lives of these young people, where like, you know, there should be more Emmett Tills, where like and do we all remember Emmett Till? Because I'm sure there are a lot of cultures around the US who don't know who the fuck Emmett Till is.
Yeah.
Like when I lived in South Carolina when I was growing up, we were taught that the Civil War was an economic issue, not a racial issue at all. So like I'm like, I know for a fact that there are people who are probably not ever teaching this thing. I mean, like, we have like Watchmen right now. You watched that show yet?
Yeah, I mean,
No, I haven't watched it.
only
That's, like,
reason
based
why I'm
on-
aware of Emmett Till is because of a Kanye West song.
Right? Like,
That's the
we don't
only
get
rea-
taught
I
about
don't-
this.
That's the only
Wow.
reason why I know.
And like, imagine being faced with that, like on stage, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? And you have to not only face that this was a thing that happened and was passed over, and like all these men got away with it, and then the woman on her deathbed was like, whoops, sorry, like I did this.
I get the oh, man, it's oh,
There's
there's
so
so
many
much
things.
potential for this, but it makes me feel guilty even feeling that way.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Because you don't want to like
I don't want
take
to profit
advantage
off
of
of
it.
that, you know? But
Right.
like there's so much to be said here.
But I'll say what is really great, I guess going back to sort of like the Capital Region arts community, there are a lot of like local theater groups that aren't necessarily made up of like white men
Mm.
that could take this
Mm-hmm.
and do something really cool with it. And I've like heard from a few people who I think would be great to do it.
It would
And
be. I mean, you could even
I mean,
You could
we can
even-
handle it now, I think.
recontextualize it based.
I don't think it would even be necessary, honestly.
Really?
Like knowing what I know about the play and like having heard from the people who were in it, like talking to Joseph about his experience, I think you don't even have to do that because we're so familiar with these instances.
Mm.
We're even like what's the word I can't think of right now? Like desensitized to the
Yeah.
shootings, and like this shit happens in Troy, it happens in Albany, like it's like it happens here, it's right now.
What I meant by that was more like somehow include the fact that this was buried.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and now it can
Like
be
add a
said.
note to that.
Like,
Yeah.
this was almost 40 years ago, and like we're still dealing with it. This is
And
so
that-
far after the fact,
and
and
why
we're still
is,
having to deal
like-
with this bullshit.
Like you think of, I don't know, I guess I never was really familiar with the theater community until I kind of had to be.
Yeah.
And like now it's like they kind of laud themselves on like, we've done this play and blah 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 blah, and it's like, why aren't you proud of this shit?
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you looking at that and being like, we had a crazy play happen and we kind of like swept it under the rug because we were like, this was too hard, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's way cooler than any fucking Shakespeare shit. Like, we've heard it before. Not to
No,
say
I-
that like
I-
Shakespeare is shitty.
No,
like,
I
I'm not gonna be out there and saying
It
that,
didn't
but like,
come off that way at all.
can we see something new?
Yeah.
But like really new,
Yeah.
but not that's like, hey, like, I'm a dude that's been writing in the area for a long time, and I wrote a play, and like it's about whatever the fuck, and it's like, no, this was a crazy relevant play that not only for like the time of what it was supposed to be portraying and the time that she wrote it, but
Yeah.
right now, like forever. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it fucking sucks that it's still relevant, but it's like, goddamn, we could use this right now.
In a way, theater is the only medium you could really do it. I mean, it's the best medium to do it in. Because I don't like that my brain went here, but when you were talking about the revenge aspect, my brain went to Django Unchained, rewriting history.
Sure.
You know, like that's where my brain went to,
Mhm.
which is like, you could do that way on screen, on a movie, you know, make it
Yeah.
very movie like. But with theater, for me anyway, theater is live. This
Mhm.
is happening right now. You can't look away. It's what makes it such an incredible art form.
Mhm.
It
Yeah, no,
demands
people
your
are
attention.
trapped.
It demands your attention in a way that basically no other art form
Mhm.
does. You can zone out while you're listening to music or watching a movie or watching a TV show or looking, or even if you're in an art museum, you can zone out. You cannot zone out in a play. You just can't do
Because
it.
you're not only at the mercy of like what's happening in the story, you're at the mercy of like the way that the actors are experiencing it in
Yeah.
the moment, but also the people who are in the room with you.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what it would have been like to, and like that's been the most interesting thing to read, just sort of like seeing it living on social media right now, where some people are speaking up and being like, yo, I remember that, and I remember the intermission was like super confusing and scary and weird. Like people are saying this stuff now, which is like great. So glad that you're like talking about this, because we should be talking about this forever.
Mm.
Like cool, like tell us more about how it was scary, like why was it scaring you?
Mhm.
Like, what was uncomfortable for you? Why were you confused?
Yeah, my brain automatically went to like a play within a play, like the play of this life, and you get to see the play, and then it ends with the burning of it. I mean, that's like such a depressing ending, but it hits a note, like the fact that it was burnt
Yeah.
hurts in another way. Do
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It adds a whole other element
Yeah.
to it.
And it's not entirely lost. That's the
Yeah.
one point of it, is like there are copies that exist. Like she, she felt the need to not have it in her life anymore, but there was a copy that the Writers Institute has that's not available. There is a copy that Joseph has. Like, people have playbills, there are posters, like there's evidence out there. And like, isn't it cool that like this is just one little thing, a blip
Hmm.
in our radar, but this, because it could exist in like millions of other communities around. Like, shit like this happens all the time. Like, albums get written and like forgotten. Like, this kind of shit is like forever, and we could be writing about all this stuff, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
That's what's cool. Like, let's remember all this and like keep talking about it.
It
It's all
just
about archiving. Archiving's great.
it breaks my heart that somebody felt like they couldn't express something
Right.
so fucking important.
Yeah.
Like
Or that
it
it wasn't
hurts
worth
me.
holding on to.
yeah,
That in whatever way it was.
which might have been
And
a
whatever her
self-defense mechanism.
experience
No
was,
idea.
because
yeah.
like, honestly,
Jesus.
in the conversations that I had, I don't think her experience was very good with like the production people, with the theater.
Yeah.
It just didn't seem like it was a very positive experience
I
for
can't
her.
imagine. I mean, even just in order to write it, you'd have to stay in a headspace.
She's so good at that though.
That's just terrible.
Yeah, that's what she does. It's insane. She like lives in that world, and she goes to the darkest places because she wants to make you know that pain
Mm.
in a way that like we could never experience, particularly the three
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah.
We will never know that aspect of life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's why I think it's like fucking horrifying. Like, to read her books is like, it feels like a necessary experience, and like I literally can't put it down, because I'm like, god damn, like this is a real thing that we just like kind of let happen in a day-to-day like existence. Not even in our time. Like, yeah, this has happened before, and like we can't really help them happen before, but it's that whole aspect of like all the things that we know that are going on and that really fucking suck. Like, kids are in camps and fucking dying and being separated from their parents, and we kind of have to like exist day to day and like hopefully give money to like Raices, RAICES, give them money. But like, what, like, we're living in this time where it's like we're so used to looking back at time periods and being like, why didn't they do anything? I can't believe they didn't do anything. Like, oh, thank God, like these people in Germany like put Jewish people in their basements and their attics, and like they're heroes, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing?
That's a really good point.
It's a very like crazy thing for us to have to live with, and like we have to make these decisions and like figure out what we're gonna do, and like we should constantly be exposing ourselves to those things, because like otherwise it's just gonna keep going and they're just gonna keep winning.
Yeah. I feel that way. I don't there's like no way to follow that up because it's such a thing. So
Yeah, sorry, I like
no,
go
you're
on a
you're
rant.
good. It's just I feel that way about so there's not many female directors.
Mm,
They're mostly it's mostly
Yeah.
men. And I want that perception, like I want to watch a movie that helps me to see things the way a woman sees them in ways that I can't. Do you know what I mean? And I always struggle because I feel like not universally, it's just a lot of movies I see where it's like, oh, it's great that that's a woman, but it's like,
Sure.
yeah, but you basically put a woman in a man, and it's like,
Yeah, the
I don't-
movies that are
What's
like
that meme
touted
where
as,
it's like the guy writes the girl and it's just like,
yes, she was 102 pounds, she never coughed.
yeah, well, it's like I don't care.
She
about
didn't
this,
eat anything.
It's not.
She could drink pounds of whiskey and catch up with all the guys.
Even like I think one of the things, even just like one of the things I've thought about and I've said to basically every woman I've been in a relationship with is I will never know certain things that maybe you won't know either, but you could. Like just the idea that you can have a human life that you've helped make inside you and bring it to the world. I'll never know that. My participation level in there is so minimal.
Mm.
It's just I would love to see more of that perspective.
Yeah.
I would love to see more of that. I don't know. There's so many movies that I wish. Marriage Story. We're talking about Marriage Story.
Yeah.
That was directed by a guy. I think he did a pretty good job of evening it, but it would have been really cool to have a female co-director, like to have them both directing it, so that the woman could be like, "Yeah, but you know what? This is how this feels from
Yeah.
her perspective."
Yeah.
You know, I watched this movie that was a play. It's a musical, like the last 5 years. Ever heard of it?
Mm-mm.
It's the story of a relationship, but they're living it in opposite directions. So there's no talking. It's 5
that
years.
Sounds
It's kind of neat.
interesting.
Yeah, it's kinda neat.
Do you want to be in a relationship with me for the next 5 years?
So the guy's going backwards. I think.
Genius.
I think the guy's going backwards and she's going forward. I can't remember. No, it's the other way around. I think
Mm.
she's going backwards and he's going forward. So it
Okay.
ends with her at the beginning of the relationship excited about it and him moving past
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And there's certain things in it where you could tell that it was a guy.
Hell yeah.
You know,
That
definitely.
concept. That concept.
No wonder it.
I literally, as you were explaining to me, I'm like, of course she does. Of course
Well-
she's super psyched and like totally in love with the guy, and the guy's like, I don't need you. Great.
Damn, I kind of assumed
there-
it was gonna end like the 500 Days of Summer shit, where it's like the guy's all stoked and she's not into it.
Well, I think
You know?
they do a pretty fair job of making them both good and bad, but I feel like it's clear it's leaning towards being on his side.
Sure.
And there's one song in
When
particular
you get
that
to walk away clean.
Yes,
That's
there's-
usually
there's-
the-
there's one
the
thing-
guy move. Sorry, babe. I've been killing it.
whatever. Good
There's-
luck.
Whatever.
There's one song in
Whatever,
particular
shut
that made it clear where he's singing, and it's a real thing that I think a lot of guys know the feeling of. There's just this moment where when you're in a relationship and it's going well and you're happy with it, it's like all of a sudden every girl in your life is super noticing you. Like girls.
Oh, it's the
you-
other way
you-
around as well.
I'm sure it is. I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know
yeah.
that. You know,
no, I think
but-
that's like a universal thing. It's
Yeah,
like
because
the
like, if you're
weirdest
single, then every dude
concept.
talks to you. But if you're with somebody, then it's like they don't care. Is that what you mean? Or you mean
No,
it's the
no,
same?
the opposite.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
interesting.
opposite. It's like when you're with someone, all of a sudden everyone's like, "Let's get lunch," and I'm like,
Oh.
But
"Mm,
the song is him
like,
acknowledging
"Look
it
at your bottom
internally,
shirt."
and he's saying like it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And I had this thought was like, where's her song about like why isn't he sharing his feelings with me so that I know about this?
Yeah.
You know, like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That would have
yeah.
evened it out a little bit, being like, yeah, sure, I'm glad you're dealing with these problems, but you're not really including me in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, and I don't know, it would have felt a little more balanced, I think, to me to show that
mhm.
they're both trying and failing in certain ways instead of
Yeah.
they do show that a little bit, but I just feel like I want that. I want more evenness.
Female perspective.
Yeah, there's certain
But also just to act like there's one realm that men live in and one realm that women
Yeah.
live in. It's
right.
like,
it's not true.
that's not how any of this works. It is if you just completely succumb to the whole construct of how this works. We're rescuing you.
Yeah.
And
It's
you're
this
like
thing
there,
where like
and we're
there's a
fixing
winner and there's a
stuff.
loser.
What do you
and
need? I'm doing
Yeah.
it. Like that whole thing. It's like then there is one fucking side
Yeah.
on each end, and
Yeah.
it's like no, it's like there's been plenty of it's like I mean I'm sure there's it's like the fucking this I don't know
And
how
every
this works.
role is
'cause-
so different when you're with different people.
Mm.
yeah. But it's like just the idea, even so specifically stupid. This is obviously a thing that I have nothing to do with, but like,
No,
like
but
I'm
if
no, I mean like I'm not a
Yeah,
woman,
yeah,
so it's
yeah.
like I remember my boss at this old job that I had meeting this woman who was a lesbian, and she's like, "Well, which one of you is the girl and which one of you is the guy
gross.
in it?" And it's like that's like obviously a thing that I'm sure that a lot of women have sadly experienced in that moment. So this
Yeah.
isn't like a new interesting
I
concept.
don't mean to laugh.
But it's like, well, what do you mean? Like, there doesn't have to be like a girl and a guy in the
But
experience.
it's such this like
of
easy to
course. But
digest
even when you
thing.
take two women, you're still like, well, which one of you's got the
Yeah,
dick?
who wears the
No.
It's like,
pants?
what are you talking about?
it's interesting because
What does that
like I like
mean?
talking to Kiki about things
Yeah.
because she's such an open book and
Mhm.
like anything I don't understand she will help me. And also I love seeing that like we're similar in certain ways. You know, we have certain struggles in relationships and things we want. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like, God, she's my bro in a way. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, in that sort of way, and it's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
And Katie too. I'll talk to Katie. I love seeing
Katie's
them.
amazing.
I love seeing them
Katie's
together
great.
because it's just like they're such a good couple.
in
Yeah.
in the, they're
Very
not like a fairy tale.
Genuine people.
Yeah, they're not a fairy tale good couple. They're genuinely a good couple.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not the easy to digest, like
No.
the story that you're telling where like the man is doing the one thing, the woman's doing the other, and it's like, because this is the role we're used to them playing. It's like the fucking, old classic movie kind of like positions, and then we've carried this forever and ever into like current day where it's
Yeah,
like
hysterical.
we still have to
They're
keep
crazy right now.
yeah, like, but that's how we treat each other in
Yeah.
film, like today, like
Mm.
where it's like that's how men and women are like in these relationships with each other. We're like, oh well, she wants me to do something crazy for her birthday because she just wants me to
She's
be
so
romantic,
crazy.
and I don't know how to be romantic, and she's just
and why
like,
can't I get any
why?
emotion out of this
Yeah.
guy?
She's like,
We're
why
all
won't
so
he just like,
emotionless.
why won't he have a simple conversation with me? Like, oh no, and he's like, I can't talk, and it's like this. Why are we still
Like,
doing
what?
this?
This dame's crazy.
It's
What you want from me?
exhausting. Exhausting. I'm
It
like,
is
really?
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's.
But that's what's
insane.
hilarious, because like I love to think of like the writers of these shows like having been in any kind of relationship and being
Yeah.
like, is that really how it was for you, or are you pretending that's how you wish it went for you,
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
you wish you had played this role when really you were like, hey, like I'm really upset and I really just like want to like talk to you about my problems, like, and I want you to come over and like let's talk about them and like let's be vulnerable with each other. But you're like, oh, but my character would never do that, obviously, because
Yeah.
I'm a fucking man.
Fucking-
It's like,
what, I gotta hear about her fucking day?
She's like,
no,
"Ugh."
later.
like look at her in her stupid dress. Like, how does she even put on that makeup? It's crazy. Like, she takes so long to do her hair, and it's like,
Oh my
what are you
god,
talking
we're trying
about?
to leave. How much time have you spent in the bathroom?
Yeah.
It's a cow.
We're still doing this. Like,
Oh, definitely. That's so funny.
All right, guys, what do you say?
yeah.
Wanna
You
call
say.
it?
No more final. You know. What about a
We
final
did it.
question?
What final question? Oh fuck.
Way to put him on the spot.
Why should I bother publishing this?
Because 48 minutes of it is gonna be super good.